Thank you for joining the December 18th, 2018 VOLTHA call. We'll be kicking off our work on Sprint 12 that started yesterday for V2.0 Sprint 12. And the reminder that we do post the recordings to YouTube, so keep that under consideration during discussions and any presentations if we have any today. With that, I think we'll go ahead and get started. We do have a number of new issues that have been opened, as I wanted to review those with the group. And then I have a few I wanted, some of our existing tickets that are under development. I wanted to have some discussion with the group on those specifically. I did add one that was not on the agenda I sent out last night. So Sean Massette, when we get to that one, I'll probably hand it over to you for a brief recap. And then hopefully we'll have time to go over the current status of the roadmap for the 2.0 plan and 2.1, and then wrapping up with what we can cover on Sprint 12 planning. So we do have a bunch of work that is scoped in that carried over from Sprint 11 and a few issues that we targeted for Sprint 12 in previous discussions. And a reminder, Sprint 12 is targeted for 5 weeks because we have a number of folks off on vacation. And so that will bring us for Sprint 12 into the middle of January for that close. All right, with that, let's go over to the new JIRA issues. So starting with 1351. And let me refresh my screen here to catch any new items. And just double checking here, 1351. Is the first one, and that one, actually, it looks like this one was closed. Do we have Katus on? I don't see Kata on the bridge today. Okay, so this one was opened with an invalid upload request error, and this one was closed, and it looks like I don't see anything in Garrett, so I'll have to follow up on him if there was any action taken. It looks like it was closed with no action. Anyone in the group familiar with this item?
Yeah, Julie. So this is Sean. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, I did this OMCI work in the BBSIM, and yeah, and it's not complete. It's the OMCI. I mean, it's just enough OMCI implementation in the BBSIM to have it up and running from a ONOS perspective, like in the sense that but there's several OMCI messages that are not handled, and it's not a full state machine. So yeah, there are several errors like these in BBSIM.
Okay.
Because it's a work in progress.
Okay, that makes sense, and so that I think explains probably why it was closed, because it would be expected at this point since the supporting work is still in progress. Okay, thanks, Chad. Then let's go on to 1352, and this one was opened by Craig, and he assigned it to himself as well. Use OpenOLT device info for logical device ID and serial number. And Craig, I think we've got you on the call. Any comments you want to make on this issue?
Yeah, we started working on it last week. It was really to provide MAC address and hardware serial number from the device all the way through to the controller as part of the device information. We had an implementation that started last week that we had to abandon. It didn't quite work on the device, so it's a low priority thing.
Okay.
But hopefully we can find time in Sprint 12.
Okay. I was going to say, since it's in work, let me go ahead and update this. Should I move it to in progress as well?
Leave it in to do.
Leave it in to do. Okay. Okay, since the previous one was abandoned. All right. Will do. And then, question?
So, Craig, is this only affecting to one device, or all the device using the OpenOLT? What I'm saying is that specific for the Till Lab, or actually everybody is okay. Okay.
We're trying to build a solution that was applicable to everybody. We started off using an ONI API that didn't work. Recommendation from the team is to go to an ONL API, and that should work. We just need to sort it out.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Other questions from the group? All right.
In the meantime, the serial number continues to be reported as the IP address and port, which has been that way for the last 6 months.
Great. Thanks, Chip. Sorry, I just saw Chip joining. Thanks, Craig. Okay, next item, 1353, BBSIM, remove BBSIM adapter. And so I think we'd had some brief discussion about this previously, and that work is done. And I think we still don't have Keita-san on. So if we have any questions, we'll need to capture that in comments, but this work is complete at this point.
So basically this one is the BBSIM now using the OpenOOT adapter instead of the original BBSIM adapter, correct. Right? Okay.
That's correct. Okay, then we'll move on to the next item, 1354. Device root being set for many ONU device adapters. This one was opened by Chip. And I think I saw him join.
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you have any brief comments on this issue?
Yeah, I had noticed this while doing some flow debugging, and apparently it was changed about 2 years ago. So the ONU should have the root device set to false, otherwise the upstream downstream logic is not handled properly in the flow decomposer.
Okay, I was checking to see if we had. No, and I don't see him. Okay. So is this going to be an issue for us? Let's see, the ONU adapter needs to be worked on for this. OneSIM, ONU, and Tibit. Okay. So it's different for different devices. So this one, we have it as a medium priority. Is this something we want ONU adapter folks to work on for 2.0 in Sprint 12? Or
well, I wanted to bring it up to people's views. I've already changed it on our adapter, and I haven't checked it in. But I didn't want to just set it and have other people all of a sudden find out about it.
So what are the implications of that?
Right now, it really doesn't do much. What I was doing, I was actually using something that was an experiment with the metadata value on an upstream flow, and noticed it was being decoded improperly, and that led me to the issue. So I think outside of metadata, which is not used currently in most people's upstream flows, I don't think it has any side effects leaving it set to true. But in the future, we won't actually be going through the right logic. So. Yeah.
Okay. And there's some other issues around flow decomposer that we probably want to discuss at some point.
Yeah.
But, okay. Yeah. Thanks.
So just whoever's responsible for other ONU adapters, they just might want to test it with their traffic, just make sure if setting it to false, it still behaves the same. And I believe it should, but I just wanted to highlight this before we need something special in the upstream flows.
I'm wondering if we should set up some subtasks just to track it per ONU adapter. I'm not sure if that's necessary or not.
The other thing is, I'm thinking, so the CIG has their own ONU adapter, and the MAT is doing the Broadcom one, right? So we can send a separate note to them.
Okay.
CIG is actually basically inheriting from the Broadcom adapter, but I'd like everybody to test it because I don't know, other people might be doing something special within some setups.
And then for the 2.0, will this be changed, or is it still the same case? Will be carried into the 2.0?
Well, I'm actually changing the Adtran adapter on my next check-in for 2.0.
Okay.
I just, I want to leave it up to other people to.
What? Okay. So the mechanism probably still the same, but yeah. So okay, it's not just. Well, what I'm wondering whether the 2.0 containerization has anything to do with this. Probably not, right?
Probably not.
Okay.
Okay. So I think, Sean, it sounds like we'll do some follow-up with a couple folks offline as well. And then it sounds like we probably don't need to map this into Sprint 12 at the moment, but we want to make sure we don't lose visibility to this either.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion from the group on this item today? All right. Let's go to the next one, BBSIM, support per ONU control. This one is in progress at the moment and planned for Sprint 12. And we've got the description of it down here. And it's a change to the architecture so that the user can turn on and off each ONU device, AAA client, DHCP client independently. So that work is targeted Sprint 12 again. All right. Let's move on to 1356, BBSIM, break down the tester component to each client. And again, this one is targeted for Sprint 12 and is being worked by Kata. This is again related to the tester component and also related to the pre-ticket as well with the per ONU device. Any questions we need to take back to Kata on this item? All right, next one is another BBSIM item, 1357, BBSIM OMCI status management. And this is to retain and manage status in ONU device instance for enabling per ONU reboot emulation. So this is a change from the current BBSIM behavior. Any questions we need to take back on this item? Okay. The next one, 1358, another BBSIM item, improve the mediator component. And this is related to associating tester component that activates the AAA DHCP clients with the core server component that manages the OLT or ONU device instance. And any questions on this item to take back to Kata?
Julie, actually, I have a question for the previous one. I do like Chip, maybe make a comment on this one. I'm wondering, okay, so the BBSIM, the OMCI library retain the status of each ONU OMCI status. However, he believes this status should be retained and managed in the ONU device instance for per ONU reboot emulation. Would this apply to other ONUs also, or it's already being applicable to other ONU already? Chip, do you know what I'm asking here?
Not offhand, but I'm trying to get a little bit larger screen set up so I can read this.
1357, yeah.
Sean, I don't think it makes sense to review these JIRA items when Kata is not here, because these are more like tasks that he's assigned to himself. and this is to do with internal, re-implementation of BBSIM. So, I mean,
my interest is what is the common mechanism to do this, right?
There's nothing common here because the OMCI implementation inside BBSIM is, that's something I just hacked up. It doesn't use any of the Open OMCI or any of anything from anywhere else. So
okay.
So this is all internal work items for the BBSIM and which have little interest to others, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And then 1358 is one of those related tasks as well. So let's move on to 1359. And this is create the simulated ONU and simulated OLT adapters. And this one
merged.
So, and I don't think we've got Ken on the bridge today. So we'll need to see if there's additional work that needs to be done here. And if so, which sprint? It looks like it's in progress. So I think I will move it to sprint 12 and check with him offline. But if it's in progress, we typically have it in the active sprint. Okay, so we'll follow up. Then we have another of the subtasks for BBSIM, 1360. Actually, let me go back here. Did we have any questions from the group for Ken on this item that we need to capture? So these are for adapters to be used for the performance testing of the new core. Okay. Then 1360 was for BBSIM error handling and AAA DHCP client activation trigger. So again, a related subtask to the set of the issues we were discussing previously. So the next defect is 1361, OpenOLT driver agent builds artifacts copied into VOLTHA container. This one was reported and is assigned to Craig. And Craig, do you have any comments on this item?
Yeah, it's a very simple change. I just need somebody to review it and agree to it. But effectively what happened is, Shad, when we moved the OpenOLT repo as a sub-project underneath the VOLTHA adapters, when the VOLTHA container is created, it copies the entire subtree into the container, including the entire OpenOLT repo, which if you have built ONL or BAL includes a whole bunch of stuff. So I just added a Docker ignore to ignore copying that stuff across.
Okay, Shad, would you be able to take a look at this one in Garrett?
Certainly, I'll do that. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, other questions from the group? Then the next item is 1362, missing DPID and serial number prevent OLT from being added to VOLTHA. This one was reported by Matt and assigned to him as well, and this one has been merged and marked.
Yeah, it's fixed. It was a quick 3-line fix. The difference in something being none versus an empty string, so no big deal.
All right, any questions from the group?
Yeah, it just happened because we abandoned the OpenOLT agent component that we looked at earlier. But yeah, this is done.
Okay, thank you. Next item is 1363, cannot forward packet out to any port except uni number 1. And this is another one that has been completed, was reported and completed by Craig. And this was to
just a
conflicts.
It was a protobuf compatibility error. The OpenOLT protobufs are actually in 2 repos, and I didn't copy one of the changes from the VOLTHA repo to the OpenOLT repo. it changed the field from 64-bit to 32-bit.
Okay, thanks. Any questions from the group? Next item then, 1364.
So Craig, sorry. I guess we have been using the Uni 1, I guess. So this is basically now, this is also make it more flexible enough to support multiple unis?
Yeah, I was retesting after we merged all the pieces together last week and retesting unis yesterday and multiple unis and discovered that unis 2 through whatever didn't work. The way it's implemented, Uni 1 was the fallback for backwards compatibility, and that was the only one that was working.
Okay.
Other questions? All right. 1364 is the next defect, OpenOMCI ONU adapter concurrency issue with multiple unis. And this one is done as well. And this was also Craig.
Yeah, so I think relevant people have reviewed this. Effectively, the problem is that when we create multiple tech profile instances, one for each uni, we allocate gem ports and TCONs and add them to a data structure in the ONU adapter, then spawn off tasks, OMCI tasks, to propagate that information down to the ONU, a separate task for each uni. The problem was there was concurrency issue as one task was operating on the data. Other tech profiles were updating the data store. So I had to make sure to take a snapshot before the task started of what the gem port configuration was for that particular uni.
Any questions from the group? All right.
Generally speaking, I've got some related issues there. There are some other concurrency issues that were caused by multiple tasks running. And Chip, just so you know, I basically made all the open OLT or open OMCI ONU tasks exclusive, so that we don't have any interleaving of messaging from that's going on. So hopefully, when you get the stop and wait protocol fixed, then we'll need to go back and re-enable a lot of these tasks to be concurrent instead of exclusive.
Yeah, I saw that comment for that change.
Do we need a placeholder or a subtask in Jira somewhere to track that, or just open it, or do that when we're ready after the other issue is resolved?
I think Chip has
Okay.
an issue for the stop and wait that he's working on.
Yes, we do have that one. I didn't know if we needed to do anything. You'd mentioned about going back and.
Oh, yeah, it might be a good idea to put an issue in to remind us to do that.
Okay.
You may still need the exclusivity option, even with the stop and wait, because it's just saying I sent a message, I got an ACK. It doesn't necessarily associate that message with a given task and allow a given task to run to completion, I don't think.
Right, but you should be able to set, work on a pbit mapper ME, do a set and get the ACK for it, and immediately go to a pbit mapper for a different uni, and then come back and do a VLAN table. Interleave the sequence should be interleavable, but as long as each set and ACK are processed to completion, I'm not sure we would need exclusivity in all cases, but I mean, we definitely take a look at it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of the back end where, well, I guess you're saying if you take a copy of the instance, then it doesn't matter, I guess. You don't need exclusivity if the stop and wait is implemented.
Yeah, we've already implemented taking a snapshot of the resources when the task is initialized before it even starts.
Yeah.
That was needed because we had data structures that were changing underneath, and the iterators within the task were aborting because the number of gem ports were changing, the number of TCONs were changing.
Yeah, okay.
Any other discussion? Okay. Then the next item, 1365, Open OMCI merge conflict between table read and download features, and this is Craig's as well.
So again, testing the merged work yesterday, it discovered that the download work that had done implemented a new timeout and a new retry mechanism for the OMCI download, which was kind of conflicting with what was implemented for the table read. So I basically reconciled those two and put that out for review. Although it looks like Matt approved and merged it for me this morning. So
Chip did actually, but I did +1 it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's merged.
Okay, let me refresh, see if there are any other items that have come in. There are 2 more. Okay. Good thing I checked. Okay, before I move on to the next one, any comments from the group or questions?
I think, people's work probably slowed down some, so people, I think Craig can focus on working on the VOLTHA stuff. Good. End of year actually more productive than during the year.
well, for the next couple of days until vacation starts.
I always tell people,
and that's why Sprint 12 is 5 weeks.
But
Okay.
again, the VOLTHA is an open source project, and welcome people to volunteer their time. Sorry. Okay.
All right. Next item, 1366. Numerous reflows being sent from adapter to agent as each flow is added to device.
So yeah, I went ahead and wrote the next 2, just some additional observations and testing yesterday with the Open OLT. I haven't had the chance to track this down to see if it was a real issue or where it was originated from. But there was a couple changes that went in. One was for retry mechanisms in flows. Another change that went in with regard to reconciliation of flows to the OLT that Garish put in. That might be related, but effectively what I'm seeing is that, for a particular OLT, if we get flow 1, we create the TCONs and create the flow, and then we get flow 2, and flow 1 and flow 2 are pushed to the agent, and then we get flow 3, and I am seeing flow 1, 2, and 3 all pushed to the agent again. So overall, it's benign. It doesn't affect anything other than the fact there's a lot of retry mechanisms going to the device that are not necessary.
Shad, is this something the SIBA team need to be aware of?
Yes.
We're on the call.
Okay.
At least some of us.
Okay, Don. Yeah.
I don't know if this is necessarily a SIBA level thing. It probably is something where ONO sends the flow it wants added, and in the course of decomposition, there's some retry logic because maybe we ran across an issue where Val didn't quite get it in on the first try, and we wanted to make sure it was in. There was a lot of work in resiliency a few months ago that this may be part of.
Right, because I think SIBA is trying to release 1.0, right? So I'm wondering what version of the VOLTHA.
It was branched from a while ago. It was branched. Yeah, I can't remember where, but it's not released with master. That's for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I've only seen this recently in the last couple of weeks on master, so I think the branch for SIBA didn't have this issue.
Okay.
So for this item, so Craig, it sounded like you still were doing some investigation on this. Is it too early to discuss whether or not it belongs in the sprint? Or is this one that we should be looking at mapping in? Any thoughts from the group?
Well, I'd like to see if anybody else that's using the open OLT is seeing. Effectively, I just see a whole bunch of errors. Flow already exists in the device, both for TCONs and flows.
Craig, this is Girish.
Hmm?
Yes, I have seen this issue too. Let me spend some time looking into this.
Great, thanks.
Oops, I can't type today. Irish. Okay. Okay, thank you, Girish.
This is Girish again. Sorry, I'm driving. I'm not able to see what is being projected there. I wanted to check on one of the issue when RG reboots. When the ONT reboots, the RG has to be rebooted too for it to for the pings to pass through. So is that resolved? I mean, with the latest patch that was released.
With Master, I tested Master yesterday, and I was able to do ONU restart and resume traffic. So I think over the course of other things getting in, it may have been resolved. Also, too, there's some confusion around making sure the OLT version on the Edge core matches what's in VOLTHA. Yeah, long story short, I tried it yesterday, and the restarts worked. So I think we're probably good.
That was assigned to me. I'll close that one.
Okay, Girish, thanks for the question. Matt, thanks for the update. And then for 1366, I think since
Julie, okay. So Matt, so basically, you tested yesterday, didn't exhibit the issue, but I forgot. Did you guys test before? Had an issue for the traffic doesn't flow?
Yeah, I mean, this is something where over the course of a week or maybe every 2 weeks, we get around to actually doing kind of a mini regression on things, and things break. ONU restarts stop working, OLT restarts stop working, and it's just when we find it, we spot it and maybe track it down or just flag it. But yesterday when I tried, I was able to do an ONU restart and was able to get to resume and traffic to flow. So whether or not something specifically fixed it or it was just caught up in something else, I think it's good.
Yeah, I think Don was the last one that had retested it last week. So if we can convince him that this is fixed, we'll close it.
Or Mike, I think it was Mike that was tried it. But yeah, Mike's done for the year.
That's right.
So when he gets back, we'll probably end up refreshing his environment and then making sure it's good for him as well, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thanks. Any other discussion on that item? Okay, so for 1366, which was the new one on the numerous reflows being sent from adapter to agent, that one I went ahead and I put it in Sprint 12 since we've got a couple of folks who are going to be looking into it at this time. So I haven't assigned it to anyone, but put it there so we can keep track of it. And then I'll go on now to 1367. OpenOLT is bypassing core flow decomposer. And that one was opened by Craig.
This is our favorite.
So I wanted to get this in the list just for visibility. We've had some sidebar emails going back and forth. I don't know whether Garrett comments or VOLTHA discussed. I don't remember, but I don't know what the correct answer is for this. It was an observation that OpenOLT is currently not fully using the flow decomposer, and some concern that will be incompatible with the 2.0 flow decomposer. So I just wanted to have it here for the community to be aware of and to discuss.
Yeah, and I want to say that we had actually, I think Nick had actually opened a ticket mentioning this in the past, saying at some point we need to turn it back on again. I don't recall which one it is, but this is the ghost of many long arguments. So Yes, I agree. I think at some point getting it plugged back in so that it goes to standard path would be good.
Right.
But yeah, it had a lot to do with VLANs and ports, and sometimes a port's a VLAN and a VLAN's a port, and kind of some other questionable flow decisions that cause a lot of confusion. But I think CHIPS changes recently might have addressed that. It'd be worth looking at again.
Right. So Matt, the 1.6 basically have the flow decomposer in the adapter, right? Or whatever.
Well, master does right now. I mean, everything from 1.5 on is it's bypassing. I don't want to say completely bypassing flow decomposer, but it's like it takes a big leap over it, bigger parts of it.
Right. So the initial agreement is 2.0. Well, that will be removed. So okay.
Yeah, or in 2.0, it is completely different code base, so it's not even considered because there's no other way in other than by going through flow decomposer.
Right.
Or whatever the new implementation of flow decomposer is.
So, Sean, some other points of feedback is when to do this and on what branch to do it. We've had some discussion with Corey and Garish on it, as well as I think Ken had some feedback on it. So whether we do this as part of 2.0, 2.1 containerization or continue doing it on master is open for debate. Some thoughts are wait and do it in the containerization effort, but there's also some thoughts that the current work for tech profile and meter bands is being affected by this behavior, and if we implement it once, we're going to have to change it again. Mm-hmm. So I think several on the in the group would suggest doing it now on the master rather than waiting for containerization and separating the development efforts.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, once we do it now and then, but if we do it now, the work on the technology profile has nothing to do with it. I mean, is there dependency on this?
I think through some work with by Craig and Garish, I think it's kind of coming to light that really the information that the upstream flow has and the downstream flow has when it's distributed to the OLT and the ONU really needs the tech profile information and the meter band information in both directions. Currently, it's being split such that upstream the OLT gets the technology profile ID and meter information, and downstream the ONU gets it. So we may want to look at the flow decomposer again, such that now we have the technology profile and meter band information that both the ONU and the OLT need. Mm-hmm. That information probably needs to be propagated down to both of those devices. Otherwise, they can't derive the technology profile instance that has the information they need for each flow and each flow direction.
So what you're saying, we should do it now, right? We should remove the previous internal flow decomposer in the OLT. Open OLT, is the master. So let's
remove the bypass, basically.
I think now is the time because it is affecting what the solution is for tech profile and meter bands.
Okay.
Because Garish and Corey are both working in that area.
I think I'm all for it, and then I think I don't see any Sienna people here, but I think Sergio and Ken they like it. That there was an exploration on it, so I think if we can do it now, that'd be great. And since whatever we're doing now has no impact to the branching for the SIBA 1.0, right? So I think let's go for it, unless they want it.
So I put it in our active sprint then. Do we have anyone who would take this on as a task?
So I had volunteered. My time is a little bit limited this week. So if anybody wants to work on it while I am on vacation, they're more than welcome to. But I had volunteered originally.
So if you'd like, what I can do is leave it unassigned while you're on vacation. If anyone is free, they can assign it to themselves. How does that sound?
That sounds beautiful.
And then if it's still open when you're back from vacation, then we can map it over to you.
You see, Julie is much kinder than I am. I will probably just put your name on there. I'll grab the first available one.
You can volunteer your time while you're on vacation.
Okay, so I think that has us through the new issues. And Craig, I wanted to thank you for opening up this one on the removing that workaround, since we had the discussions on VOLTHA Discuss, but then, yeah, we needed something to track the work and get it accomplished. So thank you for opening that up. So the next item on our agenda is, let's see, we've got about 18 minutes left, so we may speed through a little bit of this. So 1022, there's been some active discussion on that. And let me go down to 1022. And this is the reporting of ONU registration IDs from VOLTHA. I wanted to check with the folks who are engaged in the dialogue on this. Do we need to have a separate meeting at this point? Would that be beneficial, or just continue the discussion on JIRA and VOLTHA Discuss? Any thoughts there?
I think a meeting probably would be useful. There's a lot of confusion of what this is all about.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and plan for a
beginning of the year.
That's what I was going to ask. Timing wise, I didn't know if anyone was available prior or if we should just target beginning of January.
I suggest beginning of January.
And Jason and Craig and others who've been involved in the discussion, any thoughts?
Yeah.
It's been involved.
Involved as well.
I think Sean would be useful.
I'm concerned my location in Taiwan, so maybe you think about which time can be the meeting.
So yeah, so we'll need to figure out a time that works for you. So we'll have to coordinate that, or we could do it on one of the Thursday calls. Does that work? Or
yeah, which day I can find, but I can concern the time. What time?
Right now Taiwan is like after midnight right now.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I don't think we're necessarily confined to the VOLTHA TST time frames, right? So we could pick something else that might be more convenient.
Like late afternoon. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and then we'll target January for that. Okay.
Is there a summary of what is there a specific issue around this particular one, or it's just a matter of deciding what we want to do?
I think it's kind of some high level what we want it to do. Generating who creates the registration ID. It's, Bjorn's points is, I think, consistent with a couple of the folks in the discussion thread that should be input in the device, not auto-generated. Mm-hmm. And then how we report that. What is the mechanism for reporting that northbound to whatever entity in the workflow wants to authenticate the ONU? What mechanism in OpenFlow is available to us and should we use for reporting it? Or should we use the Kafka bus for reporting it as an event? Does that feed into the current workflow that SIVA is using for ONU authentication of serial numbers? And how do we, what do we reflect as far as registration ID in that process?
Okay, yeah.
Do anyone have idea to store a registration ID to the OpenFlow? I have a look at the experimenter, but as I remember, OpenFlow experimenter is used in the Asian mention table, so I cannot use that, I think. So anybody can figure out what is the parameter in the open flow. So
okay, so it sounds like maybe we should bring some thoughts to the meeting.
okay.
Around this.
I just ask, maybe you can a quick response to me.
Yeah, or if you could maybe just write up some specific questions and add it to the ticket as well.
Okay.
We can.
I have the question already.
Yeah.
So
okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Then let me go back. We'll figure out a time, hopefully at the start of January when we have everyone back in offices. 1343 was another one we wanted to touch on briefly. And this one, Sean, you'd added a comment in here as well. I'm not sure if we have all the right folks on today's discussion or not. This was
Hi, Judy. George here.
Hi.
Julie's not here today, but I'm here.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
This was the one opened with disparity between security level between ONOS and OF agent out of the box. And there's been some back and forth discussion. And then, Sean, you'd added a comment yesterday. So it looks like this was related to Docker Compose.
Right. I think the understanding is Docker Compose will no longer be supported, and it has not been supported for a while. So I think that option may be removed from one of the installation packages or whatever we're saying here. So I need the expert's point, without Docker Compose, what would be the best way to do this, and then make sure the OF agent and ONOS setting is syncing up.
I think part of the issue here with this scenario is Helm-based install charts were being mixed with artifacts, Docker images specifically built for the Compose setup. So if you're using the ONOS built with VOLTHA, it assumes that encryption is on and you're running an OF agent that's run from Docker Compose. But if you're running a Helm install of VOLTHA and you're running a Helm install of ONOS from a build of ONOS that is the standard Helm chart build of ONOS, it does not assume TLS is turned on. So I'm really more curious why the mixing of images from VOLTHA build and ONOS build in a testing scenario that is certainly not one that's used in SIBA, certainly not one that I've used in any of my larger test setups. I mean, the ONOS build for VOLTHA is good for testing VOLTHA in a dev environment, but the ONOS build released is what's typically used in a kind of a more of a regression testing scenario. I know a lot of ONS Jenkins files use the ONOS that's built from the ONOS project org project directly. That being said, I do think that it wouldn't be that much trouble to go into the Compose file, turn off TLS on OF agent, and then have the ONOS that's built for Docker Compose turn off TLS as well, given it's only used in development anyway. And that's kind of the change that I had recommended above, is the change to those two files. It's just personally, I don't use Docker Compose, so I can't really say whether or not that would work or if it's something that's easily verifiable. But yeah, I think from a testing point of view, using the ONOS image in VOLTHA might not be the best ONOS image to use.
Mm. And Daniel, do you have any comment on that one? Is it this is listed as a blocker right now, right?
Yeah.
And but I guess my understanding is there is a workaround to get the testing going. Is that true?
Yes, we have applied a workaround locally, and Jill was not sure whether this was the best approach. So that's why he asked the team for feedback.
Okay.
So we're not. I mean, we're blocked for the code merge unless we have a decision to commit the workaround, which Gilles has proposed.
Okay, this is a code.
Is this the code merge for the testing suite?
Yeah.
So would not the testing suite be better served using an ONOS image that is the released ONOS image?
George, do you need the input from Kailash for this one?
I think Gilles has spoken to Kailash about it, and they were not sure. So I think we identified a few options there, and we need to make a decision which approach was the best, right? I don't think he was waiting for something from Kailash.
Okay.
I can check with Kailash.
And by the way, George, your voice sounds different today.
I'm using a different headset.
Okay. But do you find Matt's comment? I think Matt's comment probably is a good direction how we move forward, right? So is this something? Do you think you guys can follow, or?
So I thought Matt he said that he would defer to folks who use it more, right? So I think it was a suggestion, but he wasn't sure if this was the best approach. And then you commented about Docker Compose, right?
Yeah, I don't think Docker Compose will stay for a long time.
I mean, the way I see it, there are two kind of issues here. One is whether or not Compose and its artifacts built for development need to be changed, which I mean, I think is not that big of a deal. I just don't use Compose that much. The other issue is whether the testing suite, whether the Jenkins jobs that are Helm installing things, do they Helm install components that aren't actually used in a release? The ONOS that is built for VOLTHA isn't used in any SIBA release or any other release that I know of. It's used for testing in development because it's convenient that the apps are preloaded. But in the more, I guess, released, maybe not quite production release, but whatever release that we consider to be our test threshold, the ONOS that's used is not the one built with VOLTHA at all.
Right. So potentially the ONOS release would come with the Compose, may not reflecting the real live scenario. So
yeah, take away the may not.
Yeah,
it doesn't reflect the real life scenario.
Right.
It, whether or not it's at the current release level, whether or not it's running the same version of the AAA app. I mean, there's all these other things that, for a dev environment, it's convenient to be able to have an image that is one shot ready to go. I get it. But in the Helm install version of ONOS proper, it just starts ONOS and says turn on OpenFlow. And it's up to the implementer to say whether or not they want to run AAA or OLT or segment routing or who knows what. And there are charts that can be written to say include those apps, or there can be API calls into ONOS to say curl in the AAA app or curl in the other apps. That's typically what's done with the released version, not a version of ONOS that has the apps pre-built.
So George, if this is the direction we're going to take, would that change largely on your script, or what I think we have a decision here. I welcome other people to provide the input, but I think Matt has built, and AT&T Foundry has built a lot of tear down and build, rebuild, tear down, rebuild. So I think our experience should be able to provide you a good guidance here. So we,
and actually, for what it's worth, ONF has Jenkins jobs to build an entire SIBA pod that basically do this. It's a Helm install VOLTHA, Helm install Onos, home install Siba, load the apps. There's like an automated job that they've done a lot of work on to make it work that I think is very similar to what's trying to be attempted here, just a minimalist version for VOLTHA. I think the biggest difference is what Onos is being used and to what end.
I see. So the suggestion is to change the test framework to use the version of Onos which is more realistic, which is used in the in what will be deployed, right?
Yes.
Correct.
I'll need to check with Jill to see what the impact would be. It makes sense to use something that is closer to the deployment. Absolutely.
Right. I think Jill is looking for a final recommendation. What is exactly to use, right? I think
that's right.
Today, I think we are presenting a recommendation to go forward with the release-based, the whatever the Onos release we're going to use more, not just for the lab. So can you? Is Jill is he leaving for the rest of the year, or he's just not around today?
He's actually gone on PTO until next year.
Okay. So
let me ask if Daniel is online. Daniel, if he has any feedback on this.
I think I saw Daniel drop earlier.
So oh yeah, I think he's gone. So
okay.
Yeah, I think he's gone. Okay. Yeah. So I think that what Julie was looking for is a decision, which way to go. So if the way to go is to change the version of Onos, then that makes sense.
Right, and I think that Matt has provided pretty good detail regarding to how to do this. But if Jill has additional questions, I think that there are a lot of help around here we'll provide.
Thank you very much. So let's document this, please, and then when Jill is back, he's going to look at this first thing.
Okay.
And I've got 2 minutes left and one other issue we wanted to get to. So, Sean Mistet, are you still on the bridge? I think I see you on there.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm still here.
We're going to have very little time to talk about this today for 7:30.
Yeah, I think we've kind of touched on it already when we were discussing the flow decomposer. So maybe if Craig is still there as well and Girish. So there has been some, I guess, emails back and forth around an issue in the ONU adapter where, based on the flow direction, so downstream flows or upstream flows, only one of those flows gets the information from the flow decomposer about, what the technology profile ID is and what the meter bands are. In reality, both upstream and downstream flows need that information because now the flow decomposer is not just, doing match action rules and the input and output ports, right? Now it's doing operations that depend on the technology profile information. So it needs that for the OMC IME generations and also the meter bands. It may be that both OLT and ONU need to implement some aspects of that as well. So I think we need to have the flow decomposer pass to both OLT and ONU for both directions of flows, upstream and downstream, the technology profile and the meter information. So I don't know if Craig and Girish, so if Craig and Girish are okay with having the flow decomposer do that versus implementing something that can also do that, but we kind of cache information or pass information in other fields to indicate the technology profile instance. I'm okay with doing it through the flow decomposer work. I don't know if those two guys are okay with that also.
So Sean, you mean that we need to pass the technology profile table ID and the meter band information both to OLT and ONU adapters?
So I was looking at the GAMS's demo, and I don't know if we still have time to discuss, but so you can see the demo. There's actually multiple table definitions and with actions associated with it. And the way the flow decomposer is working is it's separating out upstream and downstream flow information such that the table ID for the tech profile and the meter bands are not passed to both ONU adapter and OLT adapter for both directions of flow. So now we have some ambiguity. We don't really, for one direction of flow, we don't really know which technology profile instance or meter bands to use. So if the flow decomposer could, pass that information to both of those adapters, that would resolve, I think, the issue that is being discussed on some of these emails. There's also other solutions that we may want to discuss as well if that doesn't solve the whole problem. That makes sense?
Please let me, think about it a little bit, and we can discuss it via
okay.
email.
Yeah, or we could have a meeting on it as well. If obviously this time of year is kind of tough, but
okay.
And I think Garish had already had to drop off the bridge, Sean, so may need to sync up with him afterwards or have him listen to the tail end of the recording here.
Okay.
Last comment on that before we start wrapping up for today. So Sean, if we need a separate meeting, yeah, I'm going to be out of the office after today, so it may be a little tight, other than perhaps this Thursday if folks are around. So I'm not sure if we'll have, if we have everyone available for the Thursday TST, we could add this onto the agenda.
Is Sean going to run that, or Sean Ying?
Well,
yeah, I'll be on vacation, but we'll,
okay.
No, but I will volunteer my time. But anyway, so
yeah, one of us will open the bridge if we need to have the call on Thursday.
Right now, because I want to talk about the IGMP stuff. So Amit has a demo, but Amit has a slide put together regarding to the experience when the Redis did it in AT&T. So he has a deck, but right now I'm not sure whether Amit will be also traveling that day or not. So he's going to let me know by tomorrow night, which his time. Then so tomorrow I will send out the meeting. I'll send out with yes.
Sean, there's Amit.
Hi, Amit. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, but I won't be able to present that on Thursday because I would be traveling, as I told you.
Okay.
And I would be on vacation next week. So
okay.
The next I can do it would be the first.
So Sean said is no. Okay, Amit, I think that's fine. We can go online. Sean said, is this something you want to talk about on Thursday?
I could. I mean, I wasn't there when this was being demoed, so but it's probably better if Amit talks about it. But I mean, I could.
Oh, so you want Amit to be around also?
There we go. Yeah, because I wasn't actually here with that when that was going on.
So Sean missed it. I think Sean's talking about the Vol 736 tech profile issue. If we want to slot that in for Thursday.
Well, why don't I send an email out on VOLTHA Discuss to figure out if we can have a meeting, I don't know, maybe tomorrow or Thursday. We'll see what people think.
Okay.
Okay. So right now, so the Thursday call, it officially is canceled, depending on whether the technology profile IDs, the related stuff, whether that will take that early slot on the same TST time. Okay.
Okay, so I'll wait. We'll wait and find out if we need to do this. So we'll coordinate it somehow. We're over time, so I do need to wrap up. So I'll point out to folks that we did update the roadmap on the. So you've got an updated version of the slide for the 2.0, 2.1 primarily. That's available through the wiki. And then we've done the bulk of the sprint planning just because this is the finalization of the core work and then some additional hardening and some adapter work going on in the background. So I think with that, we take a last call for comments from the group and then we'll wrap up today's meeting.
So just following up on the discussion around Vol 736. So I think the solution, but if everyone agrees, the solution could be wrapped up with Vol 1343 as well, right? Is that the one? That's the one with the floating composer being done in the OpenOLT adapter versus the VOLTHA core, right?
No, but it was the one Craig talked about. That questionably may be done maybe at the beginning of the year, but yeah, that one.
The 1367.
Oh, 1367. Okay, sorry. All right, so yeah, 1367. All right. So that may solve both issues, but we'll discuss that. I'll see if I can set up a meeting this week, depending on availability, I guess.
Okay. So Sean, do you need me to host the call on this Thursday, or TBD?
Is that Sean Ying or Sean?
Oh, Sean Missett. Sorry.
Well, I'll let you know. I'll send out an email later on today, and then we can decide on when we want to have it.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. And Sean Ying, did you have a comment?
No, but I just do think if there's a call coming up, then we need to record that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Okay, thanks everyone. Apologize that we ran late. Thanks everyone for your time. I'll stop the meeting, stop the recording, and talk to most of you soon. Thank you.